and administrator somehow or another is turned into Richard. So watch what
Can you
you
hear me
say.
okay?
Yes. We're going to save our business portion of the meeting until afterwards so we can hear what Abby has to say first, and she doesn't have to sit through all of our financial reports and so forth and so on. So because Lynn was the one who found Mariah, and I would like him to do the introductions. So I'm going to turn it over to Lynn.
You're muted.
You're muted, Lynn.
Am I okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm having a medicated daze right now. I actually came across Mariah because I had just finished writing my Loretta Jean cozy mystery, and I was looking for a cover designer. And I came across her website and participated in a video that she has, and I found it extremely helpful and fascinating. And hold on. And I was like, I want her to speak. She has to share this knowledge with our group, especially since we have writers who have been published professionally, but we have a lot of writers who are self-publishing, and then we have a tendency to go to Amazon and just pick a picture and throw a title and a name on it and say, there, it's done. And so as a graphic designer myself, I know the importance of picking out elements that tell the story, that visualize what it is that your story is trying to convey, because it is the first impression that a person gets whenever they walk by to look at your book. And also know that as a graphic designer, you don't design your own stuff. So I'm going to mute people because I've got people talking right now.
Just one second. I do want to say to Mariah and to everyone else, I have to leave at exactly noon. So I am sorry if I'm rude and leave, but I have to do this as a family thing. So please forgive me. But Mariah, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, guys. I am so, oops, no, I'm not muted. Okay. I am so excited to be here. I love talking about book covers. I am staying briefly at my parents' house, and I was swimming in their community pool. That's why I'm staying here, so I can use their community pool. And a woman started talking to me, and an hour later, of course, we're talking about book covers and self-publishing. It just happens with me. It's all I like talking about for the most part. So this is a pleasure for me. I am working off of the premise that you want to make money from your books, and this isn't just a hobby. So, and it is fine if this is a hobby for you, but I am taking this from the approach that you want to move product and sell books. Just so that's clear, because there are some people that don't really care about that, or might be upset by some of the things I say. Because I am so business minded. I am Mariah Sinclair. Let me just get this set up so you can all see my screen. Can I get a thumbs up that you guys see my slides? Yay, perfect. Let's begin. I'm just going to jump right in. So I'm going to go over quickly who I am, why covers are so important. And we had a few people that submitted some covers for critique. So I'm going to go over those, and then how to find cover designers. And if we have time, question and answer at the end. So who am I? I started designing book covers in 2016. I've designed over 1,000 book covers in that time. My covers are consistently on the Amazon Cozy bestseller list, not the universal one. But I think when I checked yesterday, I had 4 on the main one and 3 or 4 on the free side of the top 100. I am the founder of the Cover Designer Directory, and I also mentor other cover designers of all genres. I am pretty familiar, at least from a marketing perspective, with all genres, even if I can't actually create the artwork for some of those like high-end fantasy. I am familiar with what moves product, what sells your book. Please do not be offended if I call your book a product. I come from a marketing background, so that's in my mind kind of what it is, but it's also your creation and your artwork. And I do know that. I'm just very business minded. So forgive me. So
Hello.
why are book covers important? Book covers are packaging.
Okay.
They are advertising. They
I
are
haven't. I've been calling,
billboards
but Dad
that
doesn't answer
fly
his phone,
by
so I'm like, okay.
they fly by the sales page. So you only have a few seconds, just like billboards, you only have a few seconds to kind of get that information across when you're driving, right? Book covers are the same way, especially if you're selling on Amazon. So all of these things are to attract potential buyers, potential readers. Book covers are bait to find your ideal readers, not necessarily all readers. One of the things I notice about newer authors is when you ask them, who's your book for? They'll say, everyone. And that's not right. You need to know a clearer idea of who your target audience is and who would be interested in buying your book. We'll go over that a little bit more. Successful covers do this by what's called genre matching. So what is genre matching? Genre matching, the goal is to first fit in and then stand out. Your book should look like the other books in the same genre. I know there's a tendency to want to.
Maria, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. I don't want to embarrass Lynn anymore.
Apparently Dad doesn't have the backbone.
Lynn, you're not on mute. We're all hearing your telephone conversation.
I'm irritated and frustrated.
Sure he can hear
they act
us.
like they're a bunch of idiotic children who don't know how to handle themselves. And it's irritating.
Lynn, we can hear you. Lynn, you're not on mute.
Maybe.
Oh, well, he muted. I guess he muted his screen. So sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's hopefully so there's a tendency to want to be truly unique with your book cover, right? Especially when a newer audience, with a newer author, you want to be totally different. And unfortunately that doesn't really work. And the reason is because readers know the type of books that they like to read. And they know how to recognize those books via the cover.
Oh, no, trust me.
So let's say you love reading. I don't think he knows he didn't mute himself. So they recognize what they like to read via the book cover. And
please do, because obviously Dad doesn't know how to operate technology.
Vampires, you know what vampire books look like, right? If you like cozy mystery and you are looking at a bookshelf of a bunch of different books, you know what the cozy covers look like, right? All readers are that way. All readers are scanning sales pages, scanning bookshelves, looking for the books that they love. So step one, and this part's the author's job. You need to tell your cover designer what genre is your book. What subgenre or theme or category is your book going to be in? Amazon, if anyone's published on Amazon, you know, I think they're up to 1,000 categories for books. You know, on the side, it just keeps going narrower and narrower. So you can really niche your book. It helps a lot if your cover designer knows the different categories you're aiming for to put your book in, because we want to look at those other book covers to kind of inform what the design is going to be. What era is your story in? What location? What emotional tone? And then are there any other books that are similar? Not exactly like your book, but are there books that are cozy mysteries that involve a bakery that you want to use as a reference? Are there psychological thrillers that are in San Francisco? It really helps if you collect some of those covers too, because you know what your book is. Most designers in the indie world are not going to read your book. Mainly that's so we can keep our prices down. If you wanted me to read your book as a part of our project together, you have to pay me to do that. And I'm a slow reader. You don't want to pay me to read it. You will give me a brief and a synopsis, and we will research, but this part of the job, letting me know what genre you're going for, what subgenre or categories you're going for, emotional tone, you're going to tell that to me. I'm not going to try to figure that out. So step 2 is research. And this is both of our jobs. The reason you need to do a little research on what covers look like in your genre is because you need to know if your designer delivers something that will work in that genre. So you do need to have a little bit of an idea of what covers look like in your genre on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, from traditional publishers. Sometimes they do vary between traditional publishers and self-published, but you need to have an idea of both and kind of where you fit in on there. So step 3, analyze. And this is more the designer's job. I need to analyze a group of covers to know what makes a cover look like it belongs within a specific genre. And I'm going to break that down for you guys right now. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to have a couple more slides before I break that down. See, it's a mystery group. It's suspense. I'm building it up. So there are different building blocks that make a cover look like it belongs to a genre. One of those is image content. And then the pink block, I have art style. We have the color palette. We have the fonts that are used, and then the overall proportions and scale. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on that. So like image content, it's really as obvious as it is. Is it a couple kissing? Is it a knife? Is it a city skyline? Those different elements are going to lend themselves to different genres. A couple kissing, probably romance, right? A knife, probably somewhere in the mystery genre, maybe horror, depending on how it's handled. A city skyline, a lot of times that works with mysteries. You will see a lot of city skylines in that environment. You look at I'm just thinking of the Bosch series by Michael Connelly. A lot of those are just pictures of Los Angeles because Los Angeles is almost a character throughout those books. Art style. Is it an illustration? And within illustration, we have a couple of different types. We have vector, which are those clean lines. Some people call it cartoony. It's popular in cozies. And then we have those amazing illustrations for high fantasy books, right? Those they're just incredible. I can't actually do those with my hands and mind. So I am in awe of that style. And then, or is it just a photograph? Like we were just talking about the Bosch series that are basically photographs. I mean, they've been altered, maybe the color's enhanced, but it is just a group of photographs. Color palette. Or is it cooler tones? Is it warmer tones? Is it rich, saturated colors? Or is it more pastels? You know, and the pastels lean towards more of a feminine target audience most of the time, maybe chick lit, maybe sweet romance, maybe cozy mystery. The dark, rich tones, if any of you guys look at urban fantasy at all, a lot of times it will be a very dark cover with a very bright pop of color, you know, bright blue, bright purple, bright red for the magic. If you're looking at mystery, psychological thrillers many times are blue with a yellow title, or sometimes you'll see a black and white with a red title, but those colors are helping inform what genre are we in. Fonts, you know what type styles are important. There's not much more I could say about them. They definitely give away some genre clues in there. Proportions and scale. You'll notice this change a lot depending on genre. How big is the title? How big are the characters on the cover? Some genres are known for having small, tiny characters. I'm thinking of Mark Dawson's The Cleaner series. I don't remember the name I don't remember the name of the character on that series, but his characters are smaller silhouettes with a big Mark Dawson and then a smaller title name. So when I'm talking about scale and proportion, that's what I'm talking about. How are these different elements working together? Okay, now we're going to see it in action, I think. I'm kind of surprised. There we go. Let's see this process in action. I was able to do this with one of the covers that was submitted for a critique. I didn't do this with all 5. I will critique all 5. But one of the covers was posted on Amazon, so I had the opportunity to really dive in and work with this cover as I would as a designer. So I'm hoping Richard Powell is ready for this, hoping he's somewhere watching. Step 1, assess. Now I'm just kind of going off of what I saw on Amazon and this original book cover. I could be wrong on some of these details because I didn't work with the author directly and I wasn't able to ask him questions about it. So some of this is a guess. So step 1, I'm assessing. This is a post-World War II mystery thriller, so historical. And then I just kind of start looking at different covers from that era. Now, I took a lot of information from this cover, being that there's a female, a woman on the front. I kind of used that when I was collecting other covers. When I went back and read the blurb, I'm not sure that actually aligns with the blurb. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I just kind of used that this cover was accurate as far as the content and jumped off of that. So I went and looked at a bunch of World War II and post-World War II covers with women on the front. So that probably had a female protagonist. And I collected a bunch, as you can see. And this is my process. When I'm working with a client and I'm not super familiar with the genre, I will collect a bunch from Amazon, from Penguin Random House is my favorite traditional publisher because they categorize their site by genre. So it's really easy for me to go and find covers for a specific genre. I go to Barnes and Noble. Sometimes they look different than what's on Amazon. Even when I'm on Amazon, I don't necessarily just look at the bestseller list because sometimes they're really polluted with other genres and it can be hard to kind of assess it. So I'll pick one that I know for sure is a comparable title, and I'll also go down to the Osselbots and the sponsored ads, and I'll collect some of those covers. I'm just trying to get a wide range and a feel for the genre. Then I look at them. What am I seeing here? Now, this genre is pretty exciting because there's a lot of different things going on here. Some genres you'll look up and they look very, very similar. But what I'm seeing is a lot of, obviously a woman character, but I was looking for that intentionally. I see a lot of back to the camera. I see a lot of high contrast. You'll see a light and a dark on all of these covers, like really high contrast. And then I'm seeing red, yellow, and blue, and pops of green, but there's like this pop of color. They all, except for one, the Jacqueline Winspear, which might lean more into cozy, I wasn't quite sure. They are all photo based, not illustration. Some are the locations, but that's what I'm looking at. Oh, and then I'm looking at the fonts, and the fonts here are pretty classic. We've got both sans serif and serif, but there's a sophistication to the typography on these covers. And I think I wrote that all down for myself. I didn't have to remember that. So women, sky. Oh, there's a lot here that have kind of a sky in them. It looks like they're kind of almost colorized photographs. They're not contemporary colored photographs. There's something that almost looks artificial on the color with them. The color palette has high contrast with a pop of color. I'm seeing the blues, the reds. The fonts are sophisticated, classic, and there's no effects on them. Notice how they're pretty flat. They don't look like if you touch them that you'd feel anything, right? And then the scale, we have a large title, but our characters are all different sizes. And sometimes that happens with a genre, but it's good to note like that we've got flexibility with character size. Now let's go back to Richard's cover and kind of look at it in comparison to this small collection here. His is really dark. I'm not seeing a lot of, I don't see that pop of contrast that we see on these other covers, right? Even our white parts on this are pretty gray. Her face, which would be our lightest point besides the title, is pretty gray. So it's reading a little flat. It's also black, and there's really only one cover here. Oh, this, okay, so we've got two, it looks, of this sample that are black and white, 3. But even so, we've got this blue coat on the girl in the blue coat. Shocking, shocking title with that one. We've got this pop of color, and we do have a lot of contrast. Here, we've got the green title, and we've got a lot of contrast. The girl in the attic is color, but it's muted, and we've got that red in here. The huntress is black and white, but look at that huge contrast, and it's a little bit yellow up here. There's this hint of yellow there. The rest of them have color, like they are color. Even this one, which might have started, the Secret Stealers might have started as a black and white. They put this beautiful blue wash on it to give it a little bit more oomph. So I took that information and I took some liberties with Richard's cover. And, oh, I did not. Sorry, someone doesn't know what her slides look like. So basically that last slide I just did, I kind of talked about the differences between the two. And that's all I've done. We've got a location on Pandora's Legacy, but it's really dark and it's kind of hard to see. It's a black and white photo, and there's not a ton of solid black and white photos that are on our mood board. The fonts. So this is a sophisticated font. However, it's the wrong era. This is an Art Deco font. And as many of you might know, the Art Deco was more in the 1920s. So the sophistication is right, but the era is off by about, what, 20 years or so. And with Art Deco fonts, they are so distinctive of that time. You really only want to use them if you are doing something that is in the 1920s, kind of your Great Gatsby feel. If you're doing something that takes place in South Beach, Miami, you can definitely use the Art Deco fonts, even if it's a contemporary story. If South Beach is an important player on there. And the other time is sometimes casinos. Casinos will play in that Art Deco font because it kind of has that luxury feel to it. However, we also have the bevel effect. So if we were able to touch this cover in real life, we would think that we could feel the bumps of that. That's not really popular in this genre. All of these are very flat looking. You're not seeing that three-dimensional effect on the title. So this was a very quick mock-up I did, just kind of using the colors that we see here. So I took a black and white photo, I made it high contrast, and I made a color title so it kind of popped, but it was mainly just kind of taking this photo and creating more value range on it. It goes from light to dark. The eye is so attracted to contrast. And remember, so many of the times your cover is going to be about 1 inch tall when they see it. So that was my attempt. Again, a really quick one without talking to the author. And as I was working on this, I was like, it'd be nice if I could talk to the author more about this, because when I read the blurb, I didn't quite get a strong female protagonist from it. So I wasn't sure if that was misleading or not. One test you can do is, does it fit? Is you can drop in the cover into your mood board of all of your covers and see, does it, you actually kind of want it to blend in a little bit, because that's how the readers will recognize it as a cover, as a book that they want to read. You first want to fit in and then you want to stand out. So I dropped in Pandora's Legacy. It's on the 3rd row, 4th one in, and it does blend in. Like, it looks like it's at the party with all the same people. Okay. So when I was over kind of reading the blurb, I did see the first book in this series, and I just wanted to make a note about series branding. You do want them to look similar. You want the covers to look related to each other when you're working out a series. And I thought this was an excellent example of that. In similar genre, we've got just consistency. Even though they're different color palettes, as far as the pop of color is different, the titles are different colors. The titles are all the same size though. We have that branding with the Star of David replacing the A across the titles. The characters are about the same size on here. We've got that location, which is about the same size across the series. The author name in the same spot. So that's what when you think about series branding and you're writing a bunch of books in one series, you want it to have a consistent look. And those are breadcrumbs for the readers. That's how readers will go, oh, I liked that first book. It looks like another one in that series has popped up. And that triggers them like, oh, well, I want to get that then. If they're not connected, you could be missing out on those sales. Let's see. So now we're going to get into some other critiques of the other covers that were submitted. Overall, I really like this cover. I would probably lighten the title. You've got this light cream in the roads on the map. I'd probably use that. I'm concerned there's not quite enough contrast between the title and this image. And that's especially important because readers see books in black and white on Kindle. So it is really important to look at your cover in black and white and make sure there's enough contrast with the title against the background. And I like the typography on this. Being that these covers were just submitted to me, I without like necessarily knowing the genre, I didn't do a whole lot of research. I'm going to guess this is a historical mystery of some sort with this old map and yellow fever, like kind of clued me in. And it conveys that. It conveys that. So this one by the same author, I like the imagery, but I really think your title typography is bringing down this image. I liked, I'm going to go just back since it's the same author. Here, it's balanced, it's big and bold, and if it's a little lighter, it'll be that much more readable. But here, it's bold, but it's not really, it doesn't feel like it's a part of this cover. It doesn't feel like this border belongs. I would be tempted to maybe move it down into this space. I think the reason there's the border here is because we've got some dark and light with the tree. And so it was easier to make the type readable if you had that little border. I'm just not sure it's doing you a lot of favors here. I would probably have the branding be, on the top, this Sterling Brothers Limited. You could do a color bar up here with the gavel logo, and then just do Justice Tomorrow and put it on the bottom so it's against a little bit more of an even tone. You can even do a little bit of a wash of a brown to make this a little darker and do lighter type on the bottom. This one, I wasn't quite sure what genre you were going for, Russ, and I think you're here. Feel free if you'd like to pop in and we can talk about it a little bit. I saw you had another collection of short stories, I believe, on your sales page that also used another animal.
It's kind of a science, military science fiction of genetically altered animals attacking people on a float. So it's kind of like Deliverance with Jurassic Park.
Okay. So I am thinking I might, you guys I think can see my whole screen if I go online, right? Are you guys, can I get a thumbs up that you're seeing me open that up? Okay. I'm going over to the cover directory and I'm going to pop up another science fiction book, general sci-fi, I think. Here it is. Let's see. Maybe not. Oh, here we go. I was looking at Raptor. What? Let me pull it up again. I'm thinking something more along this lines. Now, this is very dinosaur, and you're doing other animals, but I get a
Well, Maria,
sci-fi feel.
I guess we were lying to you. We're still seeing your slides. Are you bringing up?
I am. I went off. I went rogue.
Yeah, if you push it over to the monitor with your slides, I think that'll help us.
I'm only on a laptop, so I only have one monitor.
Well, that would count.
And you guys aren't seeing that, huh?
No, we're just seeing your slides. And even when you minimized it, we're just seeing the slides.
Yeah, only slides here.
I'm not sure.
On the bottom of your screen where it shares, where it says share screen. Oh, we got
found it. I went with just that tab.
Ooh, now we see it. Raptor Survival Guide.
Yes. Now, obviously, this is very dinosaur raptor oriented, and it sounded like yours was more other animals, but you get a bright adventure feel from this. And I would look at this color palette. I get sci-fi. It has that kind of Jurassic Park feel. Again, dinosaurs. When you're looking, it looked like you were looking more at mammals, but your cover just didn't have bright colors on it. It didn't have, this could be as easily a collection of poetry as it could be a military sci-fi adventure. And that's a problem, because you want to attract those people that are going to love the military sci-fi, the genetic engineering. You want to attract that audience and say, this is the book you want to read. You don't want to go people that want like edgy poetry and transgressive poetry, which to me, this looks like it could be transgressive poetry, not your audience for this book. And that's all the book cover is just, if you think about fishing and you use different bait to attract different type of fish, that's all our cover's doing, is making sure we've got the right bait on the right hook to get the right readers that are going to love our story. Was that helpful? Let me see.
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Yeah, let me go back to my slides. I think there was a way of me doing all of it, but I'm nervous. I don't want to be messing around with everything. Okay. I think this is the last one that I had. And is Annette here? I don't think she's in the Zoom room. And that might be a pen name also, I realize. I'm not sure what genre you're going for here. Well, I'll be honest with you, it looks like a romance. And the only reason I think it may not be a romance is that I'm in Malice in Memphis, and I'm assuming you guys are all mystery writers. So if I was not presenting here, I would absolutely think this is a romance. Like, I would never think it was anything but a romance novel.
Well, Mariah, while Malice is primarily for mystery writers, we welcome genres of all time. So Annette actually does
romance is a mystery after all.
Yeah, and Annette does write romance, but she also writes mystery and she writes paranormal. So it's a whole hodgepodge of things.
Yeah. So this was not, I think I glanced, I did not see this for sale on Amazon. And I love seeing the Amazon sales page, because then I can go and dig into the categories and get a better idea of what the author is going for. I'll give you some tips, since this could be going in a couple of different rounds. If this is romance, I would remove the Christmas cookies logo. That's generally something that's in Cozy. And I'd probably, if you want to include that, I'd make it a little bit more of a badge and not another character in a different art style. I would just do like a little sticker badge that just says Christmas cookie recipe. You know, you want the word like recipes inside, not that they're getting a box of Christmas cookies from you. though that might help sales, but they're going to be disappointed when that box of cookies is not arriving. So the next thing is, if this is not romance, because your title leans towards cozy, it could be both romance or cozy. If it's cozy, you don't want to use a photograph. The only time photographs are really being used right now in cozy is if it's featuring an animal, like a cat or a dog is the primary object, or it's a paranormal witches. We're seeing more pictures showing up for cozy on the paranormal front. If it's a romance, this is fine. I would just change your cookies badge. Maybe not use the yellow text. It pops, but to me, yellow text with blue photo says mystery. So I'd probably change that to either a light blue or white. You've got that cream color where Maine is, that neon sign, Maine. You might want to change the macaroons by moonlight to more of that creamish color. Instead of the yellow, because the yellow and the blue is a very popular combination with all genres of mystery. I hope that's helpful, kind of taking this cover in different directions, because I'm not quite sure what she was going for. Now that I know that you are an inclusive group, that changes my critique a little bit, depending on what genre she's going for. And I think, oh, no, I had a whole other section. Guys, can you tell I did this last night, putting this together? I didn't memorize what I had planned. Where do you find cover designers? A great way to find cover designers is look inside books in your genre. Hopefully you're reading books in your genre, and you can just look at it, because sometimes the copyright information, authors are moving it to the back of the book so they can use a bigger sample on Amazon. And so sometimes you have to buy to find the cover designer. It should be on the copyright page. Now, a lot of people do not state who their cover designer is in their book. So you may have to look at quite a few books to start building up your list. But I encourage you, covers that you like, especially if they're in Kindle Unlimited, look at the cover designer information if it's there. Kindle Unlimited, there's a better chance that it might be self-published. Some traditionally published artists do not work with indie authors. So, and they might be way out of your price range. Like, it's a double whammy on that one. They don't work with indies and they're charged $3,000 for a cover. You can also visit the cover designer directory, which is where I found that Raptor Survival cover. I have started a site that has a bunch of different cover designers. I think I'm around 70 right now, and it's organized by genre. So if you know your genre, you can just click on the genre and then it will bring up a bunch of covers. Click on the cover that strikes your fancy and it will bring up the artist profile, and you can go to their website and contact them directly. Now it's question and answer time. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen because we don't need to see that, I don't think. Stop share. Okay, I'm back. I don't know if I was gone. How important are titles, Jackie? Are you talking about readability, or are you talking about the actual words of a title?
I was chewing with my mouth full. I had both. I want to know, I mean, when I scroll through, I look at covers, but both the words and the readability. I understand that if you can't read the title, what's the use of even having one? But when the words of a title, I mean, most of us stew over our titles.
I think, and rightfully so, to a certain degree. You know, I think that it depends on the genre, but titles and the actual words of the titles definitely are a clue as to what genre we're talking about. When you look at psychological thrillers, so often they're a common phrase, you know, the girl next door, but there's something a little more ominous about this time. And that's just kind of that psychological thriller thing, that it will seem like a benign statement, but for some reason on that cover, all of a sudden now, the new wife. Well, that seems not ominous, but it is in that context. And that's something that genre does. If you look at psychological thrillers, you will see that common. Cozy mystery, which is my specialty, title actually is the most important thing. I am a designer. I'm reluctant to say this. On cozy mystery, title is more important than design. Shh. This is recorded, right? You guys are this is gonna come back to haunt me. No, I say this publicly quite often.
I understand that, because on cozies, they have to be very, very clever. You have to have wordplay.
Yeah. And the reason is, and this took me a couple of years to figure out, of being a cozy designer. And I thought when I moved into cozy and graced them with my stunning designs that I was going to change the whole cozy genre and everyone was going to have gorgeous covers. And 3 years later, that did not happen. And I'm like, but why? Like, these are better looking. And so I did research, and I was like, what do readers like? There are some not attractive covers that make it on the bestseller list, and not even from old names that have been doing this for 10 years. There are newer ugly covers that make it on the bestseller list. And I had to do some soul searching about why this was happening. And I looked at the readers, and readers love those puns. Oh my gosh, do they love them? They love them. And that's because they love puzzles. And a punny title is a tiny little puzzle to solve. And so in cozy, it's more important. I think your titles do need to be in line. You can vary it 10%. You can go off genre a little bit to be a little bit unique. But it is important it is just another tool in your box to attract your readers, your ideal readers, your super fans, people that will love your story. It's another tool in that box.
Seeing as a person who I was challenged to write a cozy mystery, and I did so last year. And Jackie helped me come up with the title. And while I'm thankful for it, after I started doing research, I was like, this title probably isn't the best that I need whenever I want to release it, because it doesn't have that punny catchiness to it. And I'm going to be quite honest, even though I like cozy mysteries, I hate the punny titles. I do.
Lynn, I want you to just march out now. Just march out. Just remove yourself.
I do.
So the whole reason I started designing cozies, I was a general designer. When I first started, I didn't, I designed book covers. I didn't care what genre it was. I could do research. I could make it happen, except for those epic paintings on fantasy, but I could make pretty much everything happen. And I saw Live and Let Chai. And I went, what is that? What is that? I love puns. I've dated men because of bad puns that they've delivered. They tickle my soul. And it's shameful. I get why people groan, but I love the groan. I love them. So that's why I didn't know what a cozy mystery was. I just liked puns. And as it turned out, I was good at coming up with them. And that's one of the reasons I've sold so many books, is that I sell pre-mades. And I come up with titles and concept, and authors will buy a series of 5, and they'll write a story to match the cover and the theme. And that's why in 5 years I've been able to generate so many.
Well, then you and I need to speak, because the title of the first Loretta Jean story that I wrote is the name of that tune is Murder. Doesn't fit into.
That's not that bad. That's not that bad. What's the theme? What's the theme? Is she a singer? Is it a speakeasy or anything?
She's a nearing 70-year-old retired Black housekeeper.
Okay.
Who is called back to her employer's estate after the caterer and event planner ditches the event. and she's called back to organize the activity there at the house.
Got it.
And when she
Well,
gets,
but the salient thing is she gets clues through the radio.
yeah, so what happens is that her employer
Okay.
ends up being found dead in a pond, and she has a mystical radio that plays tunes that give her clues to suspects and what's going on around her.
That's
So
not terrible. No,
yeah,
that's not
well,
terrible.
in
That
the
works.
and the
Yeah.
sequel that I'm working on is actually called
Thank you.
Painted in Tune a Corner.
Okay.
And
Painted
that
it
one,
in a corner.
yeah,
Okay,
and that one
okay.
involves art gallery heist.
Yeah. Okay. They're not as bad as you think.
Okay.
I think murder, it's really great if you can have murder in your first book. The word in your first title in the first book of the series, death or murder. If it happens, that's a bonus point, and you've done that. And with the trick, if you will, the hook of the radio, I think it works. I wouldn't be as down on it as you are. They can get crazy puns, but I also just use alliteration. Alliteration is super popular with the cozies, and that's one of my top sellers is the Tanya Capes Camper series. And the first one is like beaches, bungalows, and burglaries or something. When in doubt with cozy, just use alliteration, and you can even do crime words that start with B, crime words that start with G. I've got a bunch of tricks for this. I actually have a video. If you go to thecovervault.com, there's a cozy sale. If anyone's a cozy writer, I've got a whole video that talks about cozy covers, but because the titles are so important, it ended up being a video on how to come up with titles too.
Well, and just to be fair, she has a wonderful vault of covers that you can go to. And if you are a mystery writer and you can look at her vault and she's already pre-made one that suits you, Bob's your uncle, you're good.
Yeah. You can publish, there's a lot of people that like pre-mades. If people aren't familiar with what pre-mades are, the designer just comes up with an idea in their head. They post it on their website. It tends to be cheaper than a custom cover. You can change the title and the text, and you've got a cover. You see what you buy. Some people find the exchange of working with a designer very stressful, of working with a designer on a custom, just because they have a vision. It's hard to articulate. Some people, the stress is just too much for them. They don't know how to give critiques. They don't know how to ask for changes. Sometimes, even if they want them, they feel insecure about it. And if you're that personality, you might want to look into pre-mades.
I had a question.
Yeah. Raise your hand. There you are. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know who was speaking.
Well,
look at your face.
Yeah, for some reason I'm logged in as administrator, and actually my name's Richard Powell.
Oh, hi, Richard.
Yeah, and you did a critique of one of my covers.
Mm-hmm.
And I unfortunately I had an equipment malfunction and missed
Richard,
most of it.
The bulk of my presentation was your cover. I would highly recommend watching the video of this. I used Pandora's Legacy as a full example of the process I would go through as a cover designer working with a client, other than I wasn't actually working with you. So I had to make some guesstimates, but I kind of talked about my whole process, and I used yours as a guide for that. And so I'd recommend, I think this is being recorded.
It is,
and
it'll be on the
that,
website.
and
It'll
just
be
go
on the
ahead
website.
yeah, because it was a good chunk of time that I really went in there, because it was such a great example to use. I was able to assess the genre you were going for so easily that it was great for me to research other covers in the genre. And I just used it as a wonderful example about the process that a designer will go through and what you need to think about as an author when thinking about your own design. I think it was a good example. Hopefully other people did.
When you say good example,
Kennedy has a question there.
Excuse me, I wasn't finished yet.
Oh, sorry, Richard, go ahead.
You said it was an excellent example. Does that mean the cover that I had was good, or there was?
No, it doesn't quite fit the genre, but it was so clear on what needs to be tweaked, that it was really great for me to be able to kind of pull that out. Yours was one of the ones that was also published, so I could see what categories you were going for and look at other comp titles potentially in your in your genre. So it was great for me to kind of look and see where it fit in and where it maybe wasn't fitting in. And I talked about what I would tweak, and I even made an example of what I would tweak. I wasn't sure though, and I didn't talk about this in the thing. When I read your blurb at the end, I used the same photo that you used. I used that kind of as the main inspiration, but when I read the blurb, I didn't quite feel, and maybe I read the blurb quickly, but I didn't quite feel that there was a female protagonist in it. So I may have read it too quickly. There's also, I wanted to post some links real quick. This is a great segue into me posting some links in chat. Brian Cohen is doing a free Amazon ads course next week. I'm posting a link here and you can sign. Oh, I just sent that to Lynn. Let me send it to everyone. Lynn, I'm only inviting you. Everyone else, nope. So if you want to register for that, that's free. And they talk a lot about blurb writings and what your sales page looks like on Amazon. And Brian has another company about blurb writing. And so he is an expert in blurbs, and his team are expert in blurbs. So I recommend that. And then what was my other link? And I think, Kennedy, did you have another question? I think that was who was next in line.
Yes.
Yes. I guess I would just want to see, is there an average rate for like getting a book cover design, or is it just depend on the artist and what they're charging? Sure.
It is definitely dependent on the artist. However, I would say it's artist and genre. You know, those beautiful epic fantasy paintings I'm talking about are generally going to cost you 4 digits. That's just, they take an amount of work. However, for mystery and other contemporary titles, I would start off with a budget of at least 200. You could look between 200 and 500 for custom. And then again, this is where the pre-mades come in, because pre-mades can range anywhere from $75 to $200 on the high end. And that's generally the $200 pre-mades are more your fantasy pre-made. So in the mystery range, looking between 75 and 150 generally for pre-made covers. Yeah.
Any other questions? Or Kennedy, did you get your answer?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I saw that you'd put together an example of something you thought was good. Is it possible to get a copy of that?
I actually made that one. And we can talk about that privately. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about your blurb, because I'm not sure it's a good cover for your story. Like, I went off of your cover a lot in forming that creation, but after looking at the blurb and the first cover, I'm just like, is this right for this? So I would love to talk to you more about that. And I'm going to just post my email here, and we can talk about, I don't want you to have a bad cover just because it's well designed. And that's something to keep in mind. You can have a wonderfully designed cover, but it doesn't fit, it doesn't attract your right audience. And that's a problem. Gotcha. You know, and that's, I guess, probably the whole point of my presentation is make sure you've got the right bait on your hook. Okay. Jackie has left the building. What else? I think I had one other. So I did Brian's. Oh, you know, I created that mood board for Richard's cover. And mood boards can be kind of hard for authors to create. They don't necessarily know what they're looking for. So on Pinterest, I have a bunch of mood boards, and I'm working on moving them to a website so they're a little bit easier to manage than Pinterest. I think I've got close to 40 right now. Not everything. I mean, we talked about Amazon has 1,000 categories or whatever. I guess I will be finished when I have 1,000 mood boards, but I have about 40 on there right now that might help you out.
Okay, well,
So-
Mariah, we're at the hour, and I'm gladly will listen to whatever you have to say, because I actually participated in your cozy mystery video that you did that talked about titles, because I was frustrated with my title, so I found it very, very interesting. Does anyone else have any other questions? If not, I don't want to take too much more of her time, because you're out in Arizona, right?
I am.
So that means you're actually, it's what, 9 o'clock your time?
You guys got me up early.
Yeah. And then Jackie was in Atlanta, so she's an hour ahead of us, and you're 2 hours behind us, or an hour behind us. So I wanted to coordinate everything. Anyone else have any other questions?
I had a question, Mariah, before you go. Hopefully it's a quick question. The new Kindle Vella series that's coming up, they're asking not for a full cover design, but just for thumbnail shots. Do you have any thoughts about those and how to communicate everything that you've just said into one picture?
I know. Well, look, so what genre are you writing, Angeline?
It's a hold on. I usually write mysteries, but I'm doing something different now. This one is kind of along the lines of Gods and Monsters, like with Neil Gaiman.
Okay.
What is it? Fantasy? Not fantasy.
Yeah, kind of fantasy, kind of urban fantasy, maybe. So I would, if you have a lead protagonist in fantasy, that's who's up there. It's the art style and the color palette and your image content, right? We don't have the font anymore with Vella, so you can't lean on that to help inform anything. So when you're looking at covers in your genre, still go to Amazon and other places. Just look at, okay, what's the image content? Oh, it's a powerful woman with magic in her hands, or, something along those lines. Oh, the colors are all black, dark, saturated, but there's a pop of color. Look at that. If it's heaven and hell, you're generally looking at your orange warm tones, not your deep blue tones. So if it's in that, and maybe instead of a person, maybe it's a symbol, like you just see a halo and a little tail, or something like that. Vella's new. We don't really know, right? But your best guess is to look at what similar comps with titles and just look, what's the image? What's the art style? What's the color palette? Proportion doesn't matter as much, because pretty much we're all going to be in a square. Proportion and scale is more about your character in relation to your title. Well, we don't have the title, so we're probably zooming in on characters a lot more than we necessarily would on a full cover.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else have questions?
And I'm fine staying over. Like I said, I talk about this with people who don't care. And that's, I love it when I can talk about and I'm actually helping people.
Well, Mariah, I want to give you a heads up. The Yellow Fever Revenge cover.
Yeah.
The Justice Tomorrow cover.
Yeah.
And the Devil cover, that was the other one of Richard's that you pulled up. Those were all ones that I designed.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, that's fine. It was great to get feedback on that, because, as a graphic designer, you always know that someone's going to say something, and it's one of those balances that you have to, as a designer, you have to balance what it is that the client wants and what it is that works. And so one of my main reasons to have you here is to kind of validate some of the things that I've been telling people for the past few years. Whenever you're going to have a series, you brand it.
Yeah.
Look at your font, look at your color, look at your placement, look at your elements that you can use that can be carried over from one cover to another. And things like that. So I want to thank you for validating a lot that I, as a marketing and graphic designer, have been trying to say. So Richard, listen to me next time.
Well, and I would say that, your biggest tool as a designer, and this is true for authors, research what's out there.
Mhm.
And then for me, that's the fun, because I'm not very good. I don't like logo design because I don't like looking at a blank page. I came from magazine design, so I always had photos and headline, and I made that look good. I use the research of looking at 100 covers in the genre. I will also Google, I didn't tell you this, I just told you to go to sites, but I will Google new releases chick lit. And I've found some great sites and blogs that have amazing catalogs of covers just as a byproduct, because they're talking about new releases coming up. So take your genre and just Google new releases of military mystery coming up, or W2 novels, and look and see what's out there just outside of Amazon too, just to kind of inform your information well.
Well, in fairness to Lynn, he did Pact with the Devil, but he didn't do Pandora's Legacy.
So yeah,
that was done by another professional graphics designer.
Yeah, it's mainly one thing I have learned. So I started designing in the 90s, early 90s. So I've been doing this for a while, but I've only been doing book covers for 5 years. And the biggest thing I learned is that book covers are different. They're different than other mediums of design. I think because they're striking the balance between marketing and story and marketing a story and a creative effort underneath. This isn't just buying a burger. You're not just seeing a billboard on a sign with a big burger on it. It's doing a lot more work than that. And there's a lot more visual competition with readers and books. And so that's why we do the genre matching. We're basically barnacles on a whale, trying to catch some of that the traditional publishers' waves are creating. We're not going to end up on Good Morning America to sell books. Like, we just aren't. And there's a reality to that. So we have to use some tricks and looking at genre matching and how can you look like a genre but still stand out is our biggest tool in marketing our indie books.
And my key thing of whenever designing a cover is there an element of the story that can be conveyed that if you're passing by, immediately someone knows what the story is, or it drags them in? It's like with Justice Tomorrow. That cover is based upon the opening scene of Jackie's book, which is a lynching of a young Black boy.
Right.
And so that was the key element that needed to be conveyed to draw people in. So that's what I always try to do whenever I, as a designer, both for what I do for work and for Malice, is try to figure out what story am I visually trying to say, and what is it, like with the anthology, it's the title and the theme that usually is the cover design, not an individual story.
Right.
So that's it.
Russ? Can I ask one quick question?
Sure, Russ.
I just saw a cover in your cover vault that I really like. Would I just email you and talk to you about that?
If you're on the cover vault on the main page, there should be a buy button if it's a for sale. Add to cart.
Can you tweak those?
It says,
can you tweak those?
Email me first about tweaking, because I'm not a big fan of tweaking. I mean, yeah. Some designers are open to tweaking. I tend not to be, but send me your tweak. Okay. And I'll let you know.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yeah,
thanks.
Send me the tweak before you buy. So just write, I posted my email address, Mariah at Mariah Sinclair, and feel free to email me the which cover it is and tell me what your tweak is, and I'll let you know if it's doable. And I do it on a case-by-case basis. Pre-mates for me are an escape from the custom dynamic. Like, they're a design vacation for me. So I tend to not do a lot of tweaking with them, because then it turns into, it's no longer a vacation. it's work.
Well, I would expect you to get paid for the tweak.
So absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So go ahead and send me the tweak, and I'll let you know how easy it is. It's mainly about ease. How easy is it for me? Yeah. So go ahead and send that over, and I will let you know. I'll respond.
Now, Mariah, are you taking on any new clients?
No,
Okay.
I am not.
Okay.
I'm not. I am booked out for the rest of this year and I haven't opened up my 2022 calendar. My current clients, because I work in Cozy, most of them write series. In fact, one is up to her 30th book on a series based on a set of pre-mades of 5 that she bought 3 years ago. So the series continuations fill my calendar, but I've also built the cover directory. That takes time, and getting that out into the world as a resource is taking time. And then I'm also developing a course for cover designers. And so that's what my 2021's been dedicated to. So I'm taking on my series continuations, but they filled up my calendar. I will know a little bit closer to the last quarter how many jobs I'm going to take on for 2022. It really depends on, is the cover directory flying? Is my course done and on automatic pilot? How much is on automatic pilot? And I can get back to design.
Excellent. Okay. So I'll email you and ask you for maybe some recommendations for a cover designer.
Yeah, you can email me and I will probably send you guys specific links to designers that are on the directory, but I know them all pretty well and I know their availability and I know their strengths. So it will be a curated list. Feel free to email me. And there's a contact, I believe, also on the cover designer directory, and that goes to me. It all goes to me.
Excellent. And I will make for sure that that information gets posted on our website for all
Yeah.
the
Yay.
Okay,
Yay.
is there any other questions? Because I need to get packing, literally, and I want to make for sure anyone has questions, ask questions. Nothing. Okay, Mariah, I want to thank you for attending, for speaking to us. You've been very
Thank you
informative,
guys.
very personable, and I would love to be able to see if we can invite you back again.
I love doing it.
Excellent. Well, we will definitely be in touch. And folks, I think, Jim, you have an announcement about our anthology that you want to talk about. Mariah, if you want to
okay.
hang off, you can.
I think I'm going to go ahead and let you guys do your business.
Okay.
And thank you guys, though. This is a lot of fun. Again, feel free to email me if I didn't capture your question, whatever. I am kind of taking a little mini vacation this coming week. I may get to it this week, but it might wait till Thursday or Friday.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Hey, Lynn, are you going to take us off live?
I am going to quit the live stream and I'm going to stop the recording right now.